Okay, we'll continue. So I brought you this one to understand more about processed food. Here is it. Where is it? Here is it, girls. Here, chocolate, cake, because the cake is what? Cake is flour, sugar, oil, or butter. Okay, cacao, and this cream. Gretin, do you hear me? Did you see the PowerPoint or not?
Yes, miss. Yes.
Yes. The processed meat is the leftovers of meat. They add too much spices. Instead of drinking milk, you go and take replacement shakes. The instant soups. Instead of cooking the soup, you buy instant soup. The ice cream. The sugary fizzy drinks like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Chicken nuggets. Mass products bread. And I wondered when I saw this, because I usually buy bread, this kind of bread, because I thought it's healthier. When I saw this picture, I wondered. The breakfast cereals, Layan, cereal bars, ready-to-eat meals such as pies, pizza.
Yes.
Okay, this because we were talking about cornflakes. Okay, here. This what is the ultra-processed label, a load of nonsense. I thought that actually this bread is healthy, but I noticed one thing, girls, that I can leave the toast outside the fridge, but bread, no. If you leave the bread outside the fridge, it will get rotten. But the toast, no. It might get hard, but not rotten, which will lead us to the third rule of Michael Pollan here. So we skip from Kranzland. We finished number 2, that do not eat processed foods that contain more than 5 ingredients, which will lead us to this. Avoid foods that never rot. And they say that if you bring fries of Mac, sandwich of Mac, and this picture is a real one, that they do not get rotten. They do not have this, open an apple and leave it. It will get rotten. If you forget any fruit or vegetable in the fridge, it will get, even if it's inside the fridge, it will get rotten. Cheese, normal, the one, not any. Do you, in Jordan and Syria and this, I know that you make this labna, right? Your mom makes it, and makdouz, right?
Yes.
If your mom made makdouz and she left it outside, it will get what? Rotten. But if you buy from outside, if you buy it from outside, they add a substance to keep it of getting rotten. Okay, so this McDonald's food, it doesn't get rotten. Okay, and when 10 years ago, a man came out in the television and he showed this meal. It is kept in a box till now. Yes, it is hard. You cannot eat it. It's dry, but it is not rotten. So it is not normal. So rule number 4, shop the grocery stores perimeter to stick to fruits, vegetables, and other whole foods. So this is what you can focus on: fruits, vegetables, and other whole foods. Again, do not eat what your great-grandmother wouldn't consider as food. Do not eat processed food that contain more than 5 ingredients. Shop the grocery store's perimeter to stick to fruits, vegetables, and other whole foods. Avoid foods that never rot. Pollan, in his meetings, in his speech, he had a Twinkie. You know Twinkies? Do you know Twinkies? Who's and Twinkies?
No.
No? Actually, I had one here. Twinkie is this girl's. It's not in Saudi Arabia, right? Ah, that's why. I will show you too. Here is it. Do you see the Google? Here is Twinkies. It's a sponge cake and filled with cream. Michael Pollan always in his speech, he has this Twinkie and he says that, we go back to our presentation. Here, regarding to last rule, the food that do not get rot, Pollan tells the story of a Twinkie he carried around for 2 years. It never got hard, he says. It never got hard in its bag, of course not exposed to air. If you bring a carrot and you put it in a bag for 2 years, how would it be? How would it look like? Ask your mom, if you forget carrot in the fridge, what will happen to it? It will get dark and rotten and not any. It will not be carrot. So he points out that real food is perishable because if other living organisms such as bacteria don't want to eat the food, then we shouldn't eat it. How food gets rotten? The food gets rotten, and I feel like I'm a science teacher now. Girls, grade 10. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes.
How do food get rotten? Because of bacteria. And when you leave the food here, bacteria will eat it. Bacteria will come and eat it. But if you leave it chocolate, okay? If you leave chocolate, does chocolate get rotten? If you leave biscuit, bacteria doesn't eat it. Okay? The bacteria may eat the cream because it is out of milk. Yani the main product is milk. The main ingredient is milk. But originally, these food, they do not get rotten easily. They are preserved. Okay? So I'll show you a video. For Michael Pollan.
Why is it that a bunch of carrots, this simple root that you can just pull from the ground without a lot of complexity or industry, costs more than a package of Twinkies? This incredibly complex creation of food science and technology that has 40 ingredients and a great deal of ingenuity in its design and its packaging and its shipping. And, it never goes bad. It's soft for years. Well, the reason is that the government is helping the Twinkie makers, and it's not doing very much for the carrot growers. Our agricultural policies are subsidizing the cheap calories of fat and carbohydrates that we're eating too much of. And we are not subsidizing or helping the growers of specialty crops, fresh food, whole food, produce. Too much corn and soybeans leads to sodas that are expanding. When I was a kid, they were 8 ounces in a soda. Now it's 20 ounces. Why is that? The high fructose corn syrup is so cheap that the economics of supersizing dictate you can make more money selling a big soda than a small soda. We have a set of agricultural policies that are making us sick. So on the one hand, you have the Surgeon General decrying the obesity epidemic. On the other hand, you have a farm bill that's in effect subsidizing high fructose corn syrup. You don't do that if you really care about obesity. You subsidize carrots instead.
Obesity is being fat. So he says that processed food, and he said Huhus, you see, Huhus or Trinkets, it has 40 ingredients. I thought it has like 6 or 7, but it has 40. Are you with me?
Yes, miss.
Yes.
Okay.
The supermarket is a very treacherous environment if you're trying to eat well or eat healthily. It's a very sophisticated landscape designed to extract as many dollars from your wallet as possible. Everything from the music, the number of beats in the music you hear, to the location of products on the shelves, to the layout of the whole thing is designed to get you to buy as much as possible. So, for example, the milk will always be the maximum number of paces from the door. And the reason is that most people want to go get a quart of milk and they want them to pass as many other things on the way as possible. So the path to the milk will have many, many temptations along it. The height of items in the supermarket, eye level, is the most profitable items, highest markup. Lower profit items that might be better for you are at the bottom. So you'll always see the highly processed cereals up here, and maybe the oatmeal, less processed, less profitable down here. In general, the supermarket is laid out so whole foods are on the perimeter. By whole foods, I mean unprocessed, real food, whether it's produce, milk, fish, meat. And in the middle is the most profitable, highly processed junk food. So one way to navigate the food market, if you're concerned about your health and you're trying to avoid eating a lot of junk, is try to shop along the edges and try not to go into the middle, or go into the middle as little as possible, and you'll do a lot better.
Oh, you got this, Grace? In order to reach to the milk, you have to pass through sodas and processed drinks. Okay?
Yes, miss.
So يعني Lujane Lujane is the only one who replies me. يعني she clicks on the button to tell me that she is here. She's alive. Where are you, grade 10?
Yes. Right here, miss.
Right here, I just sleep. It is a very interesting topic. Grade 10, it's a very interesting topic.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'll continue the slide, or let's, I'll show you more videos.
Teacher?
Yes.
Oh, yes, nothing. I just wanted to make sure
Miss Nada,
Yes, dear.
what are you doing?
You don't watch the video?
No, we're just
No,
so
you are not.
Girls, I played 2 videos for you and I'm waiting for. How come you don't?
Because I asked you, I thought you were searching for something.
I played 2 videos. That's why you were calling me. You should have said earlier, girls.
I thought, Miss, you were searching for a video.
No, for all of that time. Okay, so I was watching the video myself. Okay. I'll play it. See, can you see now?
Yes,
Yes.
This is the second video and I'm almost finishing it. Okay.
When we think about global warming, we think about transportation, we think about how we heat our houses. But in fact, how we eat has just as big an impact on climate change. The average item of food in America has traveled 1,500 miles from the farm to your plate. It's burned up an incredible amount of fossil fuel just to get there. If you're eating lettuce, say, in New York, that's been grown in California, one of those bags of pre-washed mixed lettuce, it takes 56 calories of fossil fuel energy to deliver 1 calorie of food energy to your plate. For the consumer to understand how much energy goes into their food, I think all they have to understand is, if it's local, it's less, and if it is unprocessed. A lot of the energy in our food comes from processing. All the complicated steps needed to make a Twinkie, all use vast amounts of energy. There are a great many other benefits to eating locally besides conserving energy. There is, I think, the very important benefit of keeping farmers in business. Farmers add a lot to a community. They have great wisdom about the natural world. And then there is the view. There's a wonderful bumper sticker in Europe called Eat Your View. And the premise is that if you don't support these agricultural landscapes around you, they will be sprawled. They will be covered with houses and highways and shopping malls. And the way to keep them open is to eat from the farms that constitute that view. And that's true. I mean, that's how you preserve those agricultural landscapes, is eating from those farms. We pay less for food as a percentage of our income than any other people on Earth, than any people in the history of Earth. We pay less than 10% of our income on food. To give you an example, in Europe, France and Italy spend between 15 and 17% on food. And then as you go to the developing world, it gets up to 40% really fast. So we're not accustomed to spending a lot on food. And, you get what you pay for. And we are getting crummy food with the small amount we're willing to spend. Now, there are people who can't afford to spend more on food, but many of us can. And many of us will have to if we want better food. When I was a kid, in 1960, Americans spent on average 18% of their income on food. Very interestingly, at the same year, we spent only 5% of national income on healthcare. Now, the amount we spend on food has dropped by half to 9.9%, and the amount of money we spend on healthcare has gone up from 5 to 16%. So, you get what you pay for. There is no free lunch, and eating cheap food leads to more health problems. And I cannot help but think that if we would spend more money on better quality food, we could spend less money on healthcare.
When we spend more money on better, healthy food, we don't spend more money on health because we're sick of the poor food, girls. You understand what is the message he wants to say?
Yes.
You saw the supermarket secrets, but this is the video I played for myself.
No, we saw it.
You saw it before the break. And I showed you the Twinkie versus carrot. Okay. Here is here is it, guys, the last slide. So we understand now what is the topic about. Michael Pollan is giving us a message of what we changed. Do you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, the carnivore that only includes meat, fish, other animal foods like eggs and certain dairy products, excludes all other foods, including the fruit, the vegetables, the grains, nuts, seeds, exclude them all. Herbivore only eats vegetables, only eats vegetation, such as grasses, fruits, leaves, vegetables, roots, and bulbs. Herbivores only eat things that need photosynthesis to live. Omnivore, the person who eats both protein, meat, and fruits and vegetables. You understand, girls? This is our, this is our excerpt, this chapter 12. I'll show you. So we finished the presentation. I'll show you another video. Okay, I'll share it. Here is it, about coffee and tea.
Coffee and tea are also plant drugs, and we don't think of them that way. We tend not to use the word drug when it's normal, but alcohol, coffee, and tea are drugs. Coffee and tea, we've been using them for a very long time. They've been acceptable for a very long time, but not always. And they were, coffee, we believe, was discovered with the help of goats. Abyssinian herders, goat herders, noticed that their goats, and goats are the great experimenters in nature. They will just nibble a little bit of everything to see what happens. They would notice that they particularly like the berries of a particular bush. And that led the herders, supposedly, to experiment and discover that in those berries was a seed, and that if you consume that seed, especially after roasting, you would feel really good, very alert. It would sharpen your senses, but you would feel differently than you did before. Tea, very similarly, it changes your mood. And why is this? Well, in the case of coffee and tea, we think it's caffeine, a compound that they both contain. Although the experience of coffee and tea is very different and can't simply be explained by levels of caffeine. Like most of these substances, there are many drugs involved, and we tend to focus on that one active ingredient, but there may be a great many compounds that are affecting the experience. So there's an example of two drugs that our culture celebrates. And some people would argue that the drugs that a culture chooses to celebrate are the ones that kind of helps it function most smoothly. So, for example, coffee and tea became acceptable during the Industrial Revolution. These were good drugs to take if you had to work a really long day and you were in a factory and you needed to stay alert. They did not impede the wheels of capitalism. In fact, they lubricated the wheels of capitalism. Cigarettes did too. Tobacco, another plant drug. And yet there are other drugs that get in the way of, say, the smooth workings of capitalist economy, and marijuana would be one of them. People don't really see the need to work. It diminishes the ambition and drive and makes people content with what they have. So that may be one of the reasons that in our very fast achievement-oriented society, marijuana has been demonized.
Okay, girls. We stop here and we continue tomorrow. We will continue the literature, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now is the time for break, or am I wrong?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. See you tomorrow, guys.
Bye, Miss. Have a nice day.
You too.
Mm.
Bye.